The title of my study is Effects of Function-Based Interventions for College Students with Video Game Addiction. Problematic video play has received a great deal of research attention over the past 2 decades. Video game addiction could be defined as an excessive and compulsive use of computer or video games that results in social and or emotional problems. The video game sector is a multi-billion-dollar industry with total revenue in the US of over $22.41 billion in 2014. It is reported that 8% of US adolescents and young adults are pathological gamers. The most common detrimental consequences are depression and anxiety, low social competence, physical health problems. Many studies mention that the higher the degree of video game addiction, the higher level of depression and anxiety. In the present study, we attempted to evaluate the effects of function-based interventions for video game addiction. Function-based interventions is one of the hallmarks of applied behavior analysis. The ideographic intervention process begins by conducting a functional behavioral assessment, which addresses the events that maintain the target behavior. Function-based interventions neutralize and eliminate variables that trigger the problem behavior and arrange the environment to establish consequences that encourages appropriate behavior and decrease inappropriate behavior. In the present study, we developed interventions based on video game functional assessment. The video game functional assessment is a 24-question Likert type scale that was developed to measure 4 functions that maintain video game playing. They are attention, escape, tangible effects, and sensory effects. The method. We have 3 male college students, Joy, Nick, and Tony, who scored more than 4 on the game addiction scale. All the 3 participants reported that they played video games more than 40 hours a week. The game addiction scale was used to measure video game addiction. Each of the 7 items measures one of the DSM criteria for addiction, including salience, tolerance, mood modification, withdrawal, relapse, conflict, and problem. The study was conducted in the natural environment settings. All the 3 participants claim that they only play video games on their own laptops and cell phones at their homes. The dependent variables is the amount of time spent in playing video games. A monitoring application is installed in the participant's laptop and smartphone to keep track of the time they spend on playing video games. The researchers are accessed to the real-time data collected by the application. Prior to the baseline observation, a functional behavioral assessment was conducted. A structured interview based on the video game functional assessment. The structured interview indicated that Joey and Nick played video game on contingent of the attention from other online players. For Nick, the game token and other rewards earned in the video games maintained his problematic video game playing. During the baseline phase, all the three participants were asked to play video game in their usual manner. During the intervention, Joey and Nick were provided the social skills training. The social skills training was an adjusted version of the training designed by Belloc in 1983. The social skills training was for college students' interaction with family, friends, co-workers, and other people through instructions, role-playing, feedback, shaping, and positive reinforcement. The intervention included a weekly basis face-to-face training and homework assigned between sessions. For Nick, during the intervention, he was told that if he played video game for less than 10 hours over a session, the tangible reinforcement would be delivered. The results. For all the three participants, the amount of time spent in playing video games was drastically and immediately decreased after introducing the intervention. For Joy, a mean of 41 hours per session during the baseline phase changed to a mean of 27 hours. Similarly, Nick changed to 30 hours to 20 hours during the interventions. Tony successfully kept the amount of time spent in playing games under 10 hours per session. There's no obvious trend in the changes for all the three participants. Discussion. The present study demonstrated the efficacy of the function-based intervention for video game addiction. There are several limitations. Firstly, playing time spent on other devices would not be able to measure and record. Secondly, the replacement behavior was not defined and analyzed for the participants. Third, the population was constrained with male college students. Future studies with different ages and genders are highly expected. Finally, no follow-up phase to demonstrate whether lasting changes were produced in the present study. For recommendation, while controlled comparison studies of function-based intervention for video game addiction are a logical next step.